Hello, hi. Thanks, Vishnu, for the invitation. Thomas, it's really, I'm really happy to join back the activities after like 3 years of disconnection. So it really feels great to be back. My name is Karim Rabia. I'm a senior architect at Red Hat. My whole career is very like telco-centric. The last 18 years, I exchanged seats between telco vendors like Nokia, Huawei, mobile operators like Orange and STC, system integrators like Tech Mahindra and NEC. And for the last, I would say, 5 years, I led and still leading the transformation projects and the exercises in the region, in EMEA. So I tailored like a storyboard. I have like 10 slides that actually position the artificial intelligence and the cloud native within the umbrella of digital transformation, which what most of the telcos are doing now or undergoing. Because I'm working on the transformation, you'll find that I'm highlighting some challenges and some barriers that actually stops or makes an obstacles for the technology adoption. And I will end my slides with some recommendation from my side on how we can move forward and how the SDOs can help. So please allow me to start. I'm very used to do sessions while I'm standing, so it's very hard for me to do it. So, yeah. Okay. So let's just start with like a primary slide that shows actually what are the motivations of the telcos to undergo the digital transformation. And I'm happy that I came after Mr. Farhi because he talked about the revenue, right? At the end, telcos looking for monetization, new monetization opportunities and looking for revenues, right? And you see that there's a pure decline of revenues in the classic services, in the voice services, in the SMS, in these kind of things. So it became mandatory to start to look for a new set of services, digital services that will be like an evolution to the legacy services. There's a current high quality of expectation at all the users because now they are dealing with hyperscalers, with applications. So they are expecting the same from the mobile operator. They don't expect that to purchase service, he must go to a certain store or to call the call center. He must have it like through a marketplace or an app. So that's the digital experience that he's expecting. Second thing that now there's a battle of anything or everything as a service. So operators are not just competing with operators, competing with OTTs, with hyperscalers. So they don't just want to, offer voice services. They want to transfer all the existing domains, classic domains like RAN, core, transport, whatever, into something that we call a service exposing domains. And using the intent-based orchestration, we'll talk about the intent, then we can start to offer like new modern services out of these domains, like network slicing, for example. Second and last thing I'll talk about, it's actually the tough enterprise market competition. I was talking with one of the colleagues today that the service of a mobile operator is very local. So you can just provide service to your customer locally in the border of the country, while hyperscalers, for example, can offer the same service across the globe. So also operators want to go to that stage. If you just scan all these like requirements or challenges, you will find that cloud is an enabler, is a basic catalyst for such move. And that's why, for example, oh my goodness. That's why if you like interpret the ongoing activities at any operator, most probably you will find a lot of scattered initiatives at many departments, at many teams. Like DevOps at one team is looking for new digital channels. One team is looking for deploying cloudification under different names, private cloud, IT cloud, telco cloud, whatever. You'll find some team talking about a solution for AI. Radio team has AI capabilities. So you'll find a lot of scattered initiatives at many domains. While in reality, there is a big umbrella, which is digital transformation, that should actually include all these initiatives, because all these initiatives should work together to deliver the value to the telco operator, which is actually going to be a DSP, getting a new monetization opportunity and getting new revenue streams. What you see on the left, these are like the classic domains that you will find at any operator or any enterprise, like resources like the cloud infrastructure domain, service like the OSS part, for example, and then the customer domain, and then the domain that where you sell your product. So a lot of initiatives are actually cross-domain initiatives. And one of them at the AI. AI should be, yeah, exactly. So AI should be a cross-domain capability. Unlike the current case, which we have in the most telco operators are scattered things in many departments. So my slides are focusing on two pillars, which is the cloud and the AI. Yeah, I'm going to show exactly the evolution of the two paths, and then I will end up with some recommendation. So starting from 2012, with the rise of NFV, network functions virtualization, and mainly from 2015, the deployment of private clouds has been there started to rise at the mobile operators. The basic service that cloud used to provide was infrastructure as a service. So we were just providing some sort of a virtualization layer where application owner or telco teams can just start to onboard their telco functions, and these are classically the radio and the core and the network routers. And with that infrastructure as a service, there were some talks about controllers like the SDN, like the OpenStack, and some attempts from HCNFV to provide some sort of orchestration layer like the NFVO. And also there were some operational tools like the FMPM, but it lacked a lot of things like RCA, like closed loop control. This was not there in the cloud. What we are observing, a nice animation. What we observed is that the cloud started to evolve to start to provide an advanced service on top of infrastructure as a service. Starting from, I would say, 4 years, and especially with the rise of 5G, most of the mobile operators starting to deploy the CaaS layer or the container as a service, to deploy something like Kubernetes solutions to start to host the telco application that were modernized to be container-based or microservices. And as you see here in the slide, that's where you start to onboard the bots or the containers either on bare metal or in a virtualized layer. But the most interesting thing, and that will be the touch point with the AI here, is that cloud started to provide also a PaaS, platform as a service, not just a container as a service or just a virtualization layer, but starting to provide something like load balancing as a service, data analytics, RCA. So here we can detect an intersection between what cloud is offering and actually what the vendor solutions they're offering. And I will give a concrete example on that. I put here data analytics. We all know, I think, the NWDAF, right? The network data analytics function of the 5G. The most interesting thing that 6 months back, there was a white paper from AWS, and they were listing the flavors of the NWDAF that AWS is providing. One of them was PaaS, like a capability from AWS itself, inviting their customers to use it as a software as a service, for example. The other thing that is telling you, and we are onboarding vendor X and vendor Y solutions for NWDAF. So now it's an option for the customer, either to go with the cloud capabilities and build on top of it, or to onboard external capabilities. So that's a new trend in the cloud. Okay. Yes. Oh, no, just okay. For the AI, we started, I'm trying just to interpret the journey. We started to have, I would say the first wave was to have like a functionality or a capability in a certain VNF or a certain function that's using AI, that's using AI. And I'm giving you an example that, for example, these are like virtual machines or microservices. So one at a time, there was like many features related to paging, right? Smart paging. Because in paging, you just send a broadcasted message to all users on the cell level or on tracking area level, and whoever the user who gets his ID, he said, yes, I'm here. So for example, some vendors introduced the feature of smart paging that is using AI with some predictive patterns. He can just select the cell that the user is assumed to be there. So that was the first step where telcos met like the AI capability. It was embedded in the VNFs or in the network functions. And then the second step was to having some sort of a platform as a service or a capability from a certain function exposed to the other network. I brought here an old example of this Acomos or Acunos adapter in the RIC. but this project was archived. But the idea of having an X app, for example, in the RIC that is supporting RIC to take decisions, that be considered the same case. The case as I mentioned about AWS providing analytics as a function, that also applies, or that also follows the same methodology. The third pattern where I personally worked on, because I was mainly working on the orchestration stack like 5 years back, to extend the capabilities of the existing orchestrators in the network to add some sort of a policy engine or some sort of an ML-based engine that helps the orchestrator, for example, for the closed loop control, instead of having the automation scripted, I mean, or the logic scripted using by a policy engine. And there is an example, for example, of the ONAP. The component, and ONAP is based on microservices, the component of the policy engine that is actually representing that case, and all the commercial orchestrators in the market from all the vendors, they include a sense of a policy engine that's actually working based on ML. What we want to achieve, and then next steps, that, as I will say, I will also discuss in the next slide. So telcos, they like reference architecture. We like reference architecture. We like a document, standard document that tells us who is integrating with what. This is actually what we used to do, right? 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and I think 6G will not be an exception. So we want to have a standard reference architecture where operators can follow as an initial step just to do the architecture. Because for operators, if you can't give them a visualized architecture on how the solution would be, it will be very hard to adopt it. Very, very hard. Last thing, or the next step, and you were all talking about the AI native, and in the first session we had a definition about the AI native. So what I'm saying here, that plus the architecture, the functions itself must be natively designed and architectured to be AI native. For example, using the AI techniques for the lifecycle management for any kind of service logic that is natively, I mean, will be natively used by the network function. That's why I use two things: by design and by architecture. So architecture is following the AI, allowing AI capabilities to be exposed and consumed, and by design, that the microservices itself are designed to consume, I would say, the AI service from the network. And the last point, and it is very important, and I will witness that in the 5G. I give you one example about what happened in 5G. We spent like 3 years talking about orchestration of the radio domain. We spent like years talking about orchestration of the core domain, but no one really believed that this could be true. Once the orchestration framework was brought in 3GPP SA5 in the 5G specifications, all the operators said, yes, we need this one. So it's very important to push the logic of the architecture in the ways when the technology is starting. If you succeed to do that, most probably this solutions or this technology will be adopted. And this happened in the 5G. Before the 5G rise, I was working in one of the orchestration vendors. We had many nice use cases about core orchestration, but no one believed that they needed. But once 3GPP mentioned that, they all asked for it. My last slide. And again, I'm really heavily involved in the transformation engagement. So I work with the operators to transform the operator, like from CSP to a DSP, under different names, under the name of digital transformation, center of excellence, DevOps, hopefully MLOps, in like what we heard. So my recommendation that, okay, I follow a principle in my work called 80-20, that 20 is the technology. Technology is important, but if you don't have the right culture and the right organization, most probably the technology will fail. That's why when you're talking about being AI native, or even being cloud native, then we as an SDO, we should provide some sort of blueprint that actually explains to the operators how to adopt this technology, how this technology will change their enterprise architecture. Do they still like have the classic design and operation teams where they have the classic network teams, or you need also to do some sort of a cross-functional teams, horizontal team, virtual teams, and what will be the operational model? how to procure the AI-based solution. Believe it or not, this is one of the obstacles that I witnessed with telco operators. They don't know how to procure an AI-based solution, because procuring a box is easy. You issue an RFQ, requirement, fully compliant, you get the scope, and then deliverables are very straightforward, put in the contract, and that's it. So we need to work on transformation blueprint, not just technology, how this solution, how they should adapt to welcome this technology. Second thing, the standard architecture. I heard really great things today. I learned a lot. And the idea of having like interfaces on demand, that was really, for me, it was really not a surprise, but a concept that I didn't think about it before. But in general, telcos, they love the architecture. In 6G, we have to enforce I mean, I witnessed the write-up of the documents from the ITU, and we all really appreciate the effort done on the machine learning architecture, specifying the interlocks and issue definitions. So this should be pushed somehow to the standard of 6G. Third thing, the brownfield success stories. Not all the operators, and it happened when we started the cloud journey. Our reference was AT&T and NTT Docomo, but usually the comment is, we are not AT&T and we are not NTT Docomo. We don't have developers. So you have to always promote or advocate success stories. For example, you all talked here about nice machine learning solution. But if all operators now are participating, then we have to issue reports on success on a brownfield, not like not an extreme case, and not even a greenfield, because nowadays there are new types of operators greenfield, like starting on an OpEx based, for example, partnering with a hyperscaler. No, we need a classical CSP who is actually adopting machine learning based solutions and help them to achieve his targets, and then we issue that report. Number 4, and that actually, unfortunately, that killed the NFV. What killed the NFV, or what actually was an obstacle in the NFV adoption and the spread of telco cloud, was the technology fragmentation. What's technology fragmentation? That instead of dealing with one entity as telcos used to do, like 8 years back, 10 years back, they found a lot of entities issuing a lot of publications, and then and then multiple open source groups complementing the SDOs with multiple projects. And that raises something very dangerous, which is the uncertainty. If the operator is uncertain about technology, this will open the door for single vendor stacks to get in. So I really call for some sort of collaboration of strategic confinement and having some sort of a guide to mobile operators, what to follow. Last thing that I mean, in the old days in 3G and 4G, we used just to issue standards, but now it's not enough. You have to complement the standards with POCs and pilots. So that's why, for example, entities like ETNFV started first 4 years just issuing standards, and then there was no adoption, and then they had to go for POCs, for demos, for PlugFest, for whatever. So we have to complement standardization with realization, and that this is doable and this is happening. That was my last slide. Thanks a lot. I think I made it right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.